Adrian Newey has just revealed a radical AMR26 evolution package that could completely reset Aston Martin's season. Reports describe the Hungary upgrade as a major step forward, and one claim even links the so-called AMR26 EVO concept to a 2-second gain. But that number is not confirmed by the source. What is clear is that Aston Martin's current car has serious problems, and Newey is now betting on a major redesign to fix them. If it works, the team could escape the back of the grid, restore Fernando Alonso's confidence, and prove that Newey's extreme design philosophy was right from the beginning. But if it fails, Aston Martin may discover that the problem is not one weak part. It is the entire car. And the most important change may be the one nobody can see from the outside. Subscribe to the channel. To understand why this upgrade could change everything, you first have to understand what Aston Martin is really trying to rescue. This is not a normal development package. It is not a small front-wing adjustment. It is not a minor floor revision designed to gain a fraction of a second. This is being presented as a major attempt to transform the AMR26 into something far more competitive. And that immediately creates one enormous question. How much of the original car is still there? Because when reports begin using names like AMR26 EVO, the implication is serious. It suggests evolution on a scale large enough to make the car feel almost new. Not officially new. Not a completely different chassis. But different enough in concept, balance, and performance target to create a clear separation from the machine that came before it. That is why the 2-second claim has attracted so much attention. 2 seconds in Formula 1 is not an improvement. It is a different category of car. A gain that large could move a team from the back of the grid into a completely different fight. But that figure must be treated with caution. The source only references the claim through a report headline. It does not provide technical evidence confirming that Aston Martin has actually found 2 seconds. And Adrian Newey's own reported language is more careful. He predicts a big step forward. That is significant. But it is not the same as promising a specific lap time gain. This distinction matters because Formula 1 development is full of numbers that look impressive before the car reaches the circuit. Wind tunnel numbers. Simulation numbers. Computational predictions. Calculated gains from several components added together. But the track does not care how convincing the prediction looked inside the factory. The track only cares whether the car is faster. That is where Aston Martin's entire gamble will be judged. The extreme design approach that made the AMR26 so closely watched has also made the car difficult to understand. Radical cars create excitement because they suggest hidden potential. They look different. They challenge convention. They force rivals to look twice. But extreme concepts can also create extreme problems. When one area of the car depends heavily on another, a weakness in one part can destabilize everything. The floor may require a precise right height. The suspension may need to control the platform perfectly. The airflow may need to remain attached through a narrow range of conditions. And if one link in that chain breaks, the performance can disappear. That is why a radical concept is never judged only by its best number. It is judged by how often the driver can actually access that number. A car may produce excellent downforce in the ideal condition. But races are not ideal. The fuel load changes. The tires degrade. The wind changes direction. The track temperature rises. The car follows another machine. The driver attacks curbs. The aerodynamic platform moves. A concept that works only inside a narrow window can become almost impossible to race. And that may be the true challenge Newey is trying to solve. Not simply creating more maximum performance. Making the performance available. That difference changes everything. A driver does not need a car that feels brilliant for one corner. A driver needs a car that remains predictable through an entire lap. Then through an entire stint. Then through an entire race. Predictability creates confidence. Confidence creates commitment. And commitment creates lap time. When a driver trusts the rear of the car, the braking changes. He can carry more speed into the corner. He can release the brake with greater precision. He can turn without waiting for the car to settle. He can return to the throttle earlier. Every small action becomes more aggressive. But when the car is unpredictable, the driver begins protecting himself. The braking point moves earlier. The steering becomes less decisive. The throttle application becomes cautious. The driver may not even realize how much time is disappearing. That is why Newey's Hungary package may be focused on something deeper than peak aerodynamic gain. It may be trying to widen the car's operating window. To make the AMR26 easier to understand. Easier to set up. And easier to trust. If that happens, the improvement could appear larger than the raw numbers suggest. Because the drivers would finally be able to use more of the car's performance. This is one reason extreme concepts can produce sudden breakthroughs. The speed may already exist in fragments. One part of the lap. One corner type. One specific setup. One perfect ride height range. The upgrade does not always need to create everything from nothing. Sometimes it only needs to connect what is already there. That may be the real meaning behind the idea that this radical car design changes everything. The car may not need a complete philosophical reset. It may need the missing link that allows the original philosophy to work properly. But that is also the risk. Because if the package fails, Aston Martin will lose one of its strongest explanations. The team will no longer be able to say the car simply needed its first major evolution. The new parts will have arrived. The new direction will have been tested. And the stopwatch will deliver a much clearer verdict. That is why Hungary carries so much pressure. A strong result would do more than improve the standings. It would validate the development path. It would show that Newey's extreme approach was not a mistake. It would suggest the AMR26 was underdeveloped rather than fundamentally flawed. And it would give Aston Martin a foundation for the next phase. But a weak result would raise much darker questions. Did the team misunderstand the original problem? Did the simulation exaggerate the gains? Did the new component solve one weakness while creating another? Or is the extreme philosophy simply too difficult to control under the current regulations? Those questions cannot be answered through headlines. They can only be answered on the circuit. And this is why the reported 2-second number may be less important than it appears. The real target is repeatable improvement. Aston Martin does not need one spectacular lap created by perfect conditions. It needs a car that is consistently faster. Across low-speed corners. Across high-speed sections. With heavy fuel. With light fuel. On new tires. On worn tires. In clean air. And in traffic. That is the standard that separates a genuine transformation from a temporary illusion. If the car gains speed only in one area, the concept may still be unstable. If the car improves only over one lap, tire management may remain weak. If the car is faster in Hungary but falls back at the next circuit, the package may be too specific. A real breakthrough must travel. That is what Newey and Aston Martin need to prove. And Hungary is a fascinating place to do it. The circuit rewards confidence. The corners arrive quickly. The car has little time to recover if the balance feels wrong. A weak front end becomes obvious. An unstable rear punishes the driver immediately. Poor traction costs time repeatedly. And because the lap is so connected, one weakness can damage several corners in succession. That makes it an ideal test for a car claiming to have found a more complete aerodynamic balance. If the AMR26 Evolution package works there, the drivers should feel the difference quickly. The car should turn with more authority. The rear should follow with greater stability. The platform should remain controlled. And the driver should be able to build speed rather than fight the car. But the first signs may not appear in the headline result. They may appear in the details. How quickly the drivers find a setup. How consistent the long runs become. How much steering correction is required. How confidently the drivers attack the middle of the corner. And whether the car reacts to setup changes in the way the engineers expect. Those details will reveal whether Aston Martin has found understanding. Because understanding is the real currency of development. A team that understands its car can improve it. A team that does not understand its car can only guess. And guessing is expensive. One failed package wastes time. A second destroys confidence. A third can force a team to abandon the entire direction. That is why Newey's reported prediction of a big step forward carries so much weight. He is not only talking about lap time. He is placing confidence in the new path. The man associated with some of the most successful technical concepts in Formula One history believes this package can move the project forward. That alone will make every rival pay attention. Because Newey's greatest strength has never been one isolated trick. It has been his ability to see the car as a complete aerodynamic system. The nose influences the front wing. The front wing influences the floor. The floor influences the diffuser. The suspension controls the platform that allows all of it to work. The bodywork guides the airflow through each stage. And the rear of the car must complete the process. Every part speaks to the next. That is what makes his design so difficult to copy. A rival may understand one visible feature. But copying the shape without understanding the system can make the car worse. This is why the AMR26 Evolution could be more significant than it looks from the outside. The most important changes may not be dramatic. They may be subtle shifts in how the airflow remains connected. A slightly different surface. A revised profile. A more stable wake. A better transition from the front of the car toward the floor. Small visible changes can produce major consequences when the full system is sensitive. And that sensitivity is exactly what makes extreme designs both powerful and dangerous. When everything works, the gain can be enormous. When one part fails, the entire car can collapse outside its ideal window. The Hungary package is therefore trying to move the AMR26 away from fragility, toward control, toward consistency, toward a condition where the drivers can rely on the car rather than negotiate with it. That may not sound as dramatic as a 2-second headline, but it is far more important. Because raw speed without control is not enough. A Formula One car must allow the driver to repeat the performance. Lap after lap, corner after corner, under pressure. That is where championships are built. And that is where Aston Martin has the most to prove. The team has already created enormous expectations. Newey's arrival changed how the entire project was viewed. Every unusual feature became a possible breakthrough. Every bold shape became evidence of hidden genius. But reputation cannot protect a slow car. Eventually, the concept must produce results. That moment is approaching. The AMR26 Evolution package is no longer an idea inside the factory. It is becoming a public test. A test of the design. A test of the development tools. A test of the team's ability to execute. And a test of whether the original car contained the potential Newey believed was there. This is why the word evolution may be misleading. An evolution sounds gradual, controlled, predictable. This package feels closer to a verdict. If it succeeds, the original design will be reinterpreted. What looked like failure may begin to look like an incomplete first step. What looked too extreme may begin to look ahead of its time. And what looked like a season in collapse may become the beginning of a recovery. But if it fails, the opposite will happen. Every radical feature will be questioned. Every prediction will be challenged. And the idea of the AMR26 will stop sounding like a breakthrough. It will start sounding like an emergency. That is the pressure behind the update.